Hey all, here OS Reviews. A while back we checked out the Mifo O7s, which are premium TWS buds, which are the flagship for the company at the moment, and truth be told, these have become my daily driver over the past few months in terms of just being very comfortable, offering very detailed, crystal clear sound, especially in mids and trebles, and that very good construction quality being made out of metal. So I was pretty surprised to learn that Mifo have since created an updated version, and today we're taking a look at the new edition of the O7s. Updates come in a few areas. The primary one is in sound. Although the O7s originally had very good trebles and mids, which made them great for acoustic tracks, the bass was a little more lacking compared to other competitors. So that was the primary focus, it seems, with this updated model, is that they've claimed that the bass has been significantly boosted up. If you guys recall, the old one was a dual balanced armature driver, and this new one they're calling a dynamic version. So instead of the balanced armatures, they are using dual dynamic drivers instead. Technically, it's a pretty jargon-filled sentence here, but they're calling it carbon nanotube diaphragm dynamic speakers. They still offer Qualcomm's aptX support, so there's AAC, SBC, and aptX. And the second biggest change is in the color additions that you can pick from. There's a new indigo blue version, which is the one that we have today, that is a different color scheme from the traditional silver gray that we had from before. Still offers the same controls, including adjustment for volume, which is always nice to see. Tap once to raise it higher or lower, in addition to other controls, double tapping to play pause, triple tap to skip tracks. They're rated to last around 5 hours on a single charge, with the battery case providing around 15 hours of additional juice. That's about 20 hours combined, which is in line with other small compact buds like the Apple AirPods, but not necessarily an endurance king. However, it does charge up pretty quickly using USB Type-C. The buds themselves, if you charge them for 10 minutes, can get you over an hour of playback. Now in here we have a pretty nice presentation. These still sell for the same cost of $150. In this velvet box, we have access to the new O7s, and then inside of the other two small boxes, we get the accessories, including various sizes of silicone tips to get a more custom fit. Very nice to see. And we also get a charging cable that is USB Type-C, branded by Mifo. Immediately we are presented with this pretty beautiful looking casing, which is still made out of aluminum and metal, so it feels incredibly hefty in the hand, super solid and premium. It's just the metal has been now coated with that soft touch rubber material that makes it more resistant to fingerprints and also a little easier to grip, but still feels super solid. Here it is next to the older gray version, the standard O7s. We can see dimensions is the same, placement of the Type-C charging port is also the same, and the labels on the rear look a little bit different. The new one says designed and made by Mifo, and the old one here had a side-mounted Mifo logo, as you can see there. And you can still pick the gray if you like that color better in the upgraded dynamic version, so this is up to you for the choice. Opening it up, we have a very fancy look, the hinge here being made out of metal, opens and closes with a satisfying click. Everything is super solid. And then down below here we have a LED notification light system that tells you how much charge is remaining in the battery case. And you can see here there's 3 LEDs, so each LED represents about 33% of battery. The buds themselves are still magnetic, so they can attach into the case with a satisfying click, and we have these very delicate logos going on that makes it look pretty distinctive and beautiful. Just like with the originals, I definitely like the design of these quite a lot. It seems like the older case can flip back a little bit more than the new one. The angle of the hinge is a little bit different here, and otherwise the color scheme is of course different between the gray, which is all a darker shade, versus the blue, which has these lighter accents. Now a closer look at the buds themselves, we have an LED notification light. There's actually 4 microphones on board when you're making phone calls, although they don't have active noise cancellation, so there's no ANC for reducing noise when you're listening to music, for example. Stem here is pretty short. We have a very ergonomic tilt that fits in super comfortably, at least in my testing. They never really got loose, and it was just very snug, easy to wear for the full, again, 5 to 6 hours without feeling fatigued during the process. What I also like about these indigo blue versions is the coating on the rear here has also been made out of this soft touch rubber material that makes it a bit more resistant to falling loose. The older version here was made out of a more slick plastic material, so this is kind of similar to the AirPods. It's more of a matte plastic versus a rubber plastic on the blue editions, but the overall dimensions are the same, as you can see there. One other slight difference that I am observing, though, is that the older one did have a red accent over the drivers, as you can see there, versus the indigo blue version has more of a traditional gray mesh. So before we talk about the audio quality, I got a few questions about how to connect this to your phone and how to reset it. The process is pretty simple. You can tap on the top touch-sensitive area here from the Mifo logo 5 times to reset them if you want to turn them off and reconnect it to something. So if we tap 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll see the LEDs here start to blink. Afterwards, popping them out of the case, the two sides will connect with each other. If you want to use it in the stereo mode, you can also use these as mono buds, so you can pop either the left or right side out if you only want to put one of them in. Maybe if you're making a phone call or you want to still hear what's going on around you. But afterwards, you can simply find it on the list of devices in your Bluetooth settings, either the 07 right side or the left side. Either one will work because they're basically connected to each other. In the future, whenever you remove them from the case, they will just automatically connect to your phone as long as the Bluetooth is turned on. Very fast. Talking about the audio quality and performance next, I have to say that there is a pretty big difference compared to the original 07s, which I already dubbed in the review back then as one of my favorite sounding wireless buds because of how clear and detailed the sound is. But if you are a bass head, you really want to feel the thump of the music, then these updated dynamic 07s are a huge contrast to the originals. It's pretty night and day in terms of the lower frequency and bass. These are probably the most bass-heavy wireless buds I've ever tried, but at the same time it feels controlled. It doesn't necessarily distract from the mids or trebles. Overall, it's still well balanced, but because of that thumpier bass, which just feels really satisfying, it definitely adds another dimension to the music and almost makes it 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional, puts the music into life. With that being said, if you do prefer more of a flat, kind of neutral sound, if you still like listening primarily to acoustic tracks with more mids and trebles, then maybe the balance and the tuning of the original 07s will still be to your preference a little bit. However, if you want something that's more consumer-oriented, has more bass, more for pop music, for EDM, for watching videos, then that's where the 07's dynamic versions will shine. And both versions, by the way, are still available to purchase. For the average consumer, I'd argue that the new versions, the dynamic 07s, are going to be the better buy, just because it works, I think, better for the majority of pop-related music, and with that thumpier bass, it just, again, brings the music to life. Other qualities of the original still shine through, which means you get very low latency in addition to very low distortion. It's super clean sounding, so even if you turn the volume all the way down low, there's no static, there's no hissing or humming aside from the music itself. So very clean. And even if you're walking around, the connection range is super stable. Never notice any disconnections, which is always great. Again, especially if you like bass, they're probably the best sounding sub $150 wireless buds right now on the market. So I think that this is definitely worthy of the premium, slightly higher price that you'll be paying, but this is getting close, I think, to audiophile territory as far as wireless buds are concerned. Now finally, I'm going to do another quick size comparison of the battery case. It's something that I leaped over previously, but here it is next to the Mifo 05s, which you can see, again, the 07s are still meant as really compact designs. The 05s had that 100-hour battery life, but the casing is also a lot larger. This is more in line with something like Apple's AirPods, very easy to tuck away into a pocket. So that's more or less it for our hands-on review of the updated dynamic version of the 07s. It's beautiful to look at and more importantly sounds excellent, just so full of life and makes it almost like you're in a live environment. With that being said, the 07s still lack some of the other more fancy features, perhaps other premium buds on the market have. Things like active noise cancellation or a audio transparency mode would have been nice to see, since the 05s do have audio transparency and these are considerably cheaper. So at the end of the day, the updated 07s are still super focused on music quality. If you're someone that takes that super seriously and that's your main priority when buying a pair of wireless buds, I think you won't be disappointed here. They definitely compete with other larger brands like Bose and Sennheiser in terms of the sound quality alone, despite not having too many other extra features. So if that's what you're looking for, you can check out more details in the links down below. But for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the DYS edition of the Mifo 07.